All right, so this is going to be our guided practice where I walk you through the first part of the classwork, and then for the second part, you'll do independent practice, and you'll use both parts to complete your exit ticket. Okay, so it's very important that the information I'm about to give you and the things that I do here is um, going to be copied down on this paper that I have, and that you use it for the classwork. Okay, so first things first, we have a question here, and I'm going to break down the question because we still have to use our strategies, and we still have to know what we're answering. So it says, what information did you learn about why the Union troops, here's our subject, let's circle it. Sorry, let me back up. Go ahead and copy down the question first, sorry, and then we'll break it down. Take a moment, copy down the question, pause the video while you're doing it. So now that you have the question copied down, um, again, we're going to be looking for the subject and what we're trying to prove about the subject, okay? So it says, what information did you learn about why the Union troops? Here's our subject, so I'm just going to write to the side, subject. We're going to underline the situation. What they were forced to retreat, so we're going to underline that. And this word here, retreat, it means that they were forced to back down from the fight. So basically what we're answering is, why were Union troops forced to back down from the battle? That's what they're asking us. We're going to use the animated battle map. So I'm going to box that. That's our source that we're focusing on to answer that question. So again, we're just trying to tell, or you're going to tell me, why were the Union troops forced to back down, okay? So here's our CFS that we have to make sure we are doing to be successful. We're going to answer the question about the subject. We know who the subject is, Union troops. And gather information about the subject from each source. Okay, so we're going to start with one of the sources. You're going to do the other source by yourself, and we're going to use some stuff from the sources to back up our answer. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Of course, we have to go back to the text or go back to the source that we're using to collect key information about this. We're looking for reasons why the troops had to back down from the battle. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I've copied down this chart, and I would like for you to copy down the CFS in this chart so that you can refer back to it as we are completing the classwork. Take a moment, pause the video to copy down everything you see here. And again, remember that we're looking for why the Union troops, were forced to back down from the battle. Okay, so I'm going to play the video, and I'm actually going to skip to the part where they get to, because we know from our gist, in the last couple of minutes of the video, the Union troops did back down. We're going to look at that closely to figure out why did they have to. So I'm going to replay that part. I think it starts here. And we're looking for reasons why they backed down. I'm going to write down my reasons why on my animated map chart so that I can collect this to use to answer the question. Okay, so you're watching carefully, looking for the reasons why the Union troops basically had to back down from the fight.
The backside of Henry Hill, fresh troops arrived. General Thomas Jackson's brigade of Virginians formed the heart of the Confederate position. Jackson bolstered his line with 13 short-range cannons. After hours of delay, the Union Army finally moves toward Henry Hill. 11 cannons under Captains Charles Griffin and James Ricketts take position on both sides of the Henry House. This will be the focal point of the battle. The Confederate artillery is well positioned for the short-range fight, and they disseminate the Union artillerymen and their battery horses. Union infantry support arrives, only to be pushed back by the Confederates, with Jeb Stuart's horsemen riding into their midst. Charles Griffin moves 2 cannons over to enfilade the Confederate line, but before he can open fire, the Confederates attack and capture the cannons. The Union counterattacks and recaptures the guns. Henceforth, this will be an infantryman's fight. with both sides vying for possession of the Union cannons. The Union launches several bloody assaults and gets weaker as the day goes on. The Confederates are only getting stronger. They bring fresh troops to the field, extend their lines beyond the Union flank. By the time the last Union reinforcements arrive, they move on to Chin Ridge and find they are already outflanked. The Southerners are able to easily push these troops off the battlefield, and they retreat along with the rest of the Union Army. Union forces retired across Sedley Ford and Stone Bridge. Disorganized Confederates pursued and helped turn the Union retreat into a rout. It was the bloodiest battle in American history up to that time.
Okay, so here are a couple of things that I've learned from watching the video. Okay, remember that I'm looking for the reason why the northern states or the Union states basically had to back down from the Confederates. Okay, one, if you notice that this battle was taking place in Virginia, and Virginia was considered a Confederate state at the time, so they're fighting on the Confederates' territory. So this means that eventually they're able to bring more men into the battle because this is their territory. So that's one of the things I saw. They had more soldiers. Next thing I saw was that the Confederate ended up capturing some of the Union's weapons, which kind of made them a little weak. Okay, so they couldn't fight back fully because they didn't have all their weapons. Okay, another thing I saw was that it just said that the Confederates literally pushed them back. So as more Confederates started coming, they were going in the direction where the Union was, and it made the Union, have to move further back, okay? And the last thing, it says that the Union Army became weaker because they had used all of their big guns and their cannons and stuff, and then the Confederate ended up taking some of the weapons, and some people were also killed. Their army became weaker. And unlike the Confederate States could bring more people in, but because the Union was away, they could not just gather more people to fight. So here are the reasons why the Union states ended up having to fall back a little bit, okay? So I want you to take time to copy down these 4 points that I have, because we're going to use this to answer the exit ticket. Now that you've copied down the things that we've learned from the animated map about why they were forced to back down from the fight, your job for independent practice will be to look at the map in Bull Run, and you're going to tell me what things are you seeing there that lets you know why they had to back down from the fight, okay? So since we're answering the same question, we're just looking at two different texts or two different sources to get the answer. So it's the same idea. Why were the Union troops forced to back down? You're going to look here to find that information. For your exit ticket, you will use points from here, and you will use points from here to answer the exit ticket in 3 complete sentences. Make sure you use details from each source to back up your answer. Okay?